Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. Talk about Blu-rays here, and today we're going to talk film noir. Got a couple of the always interesting Kino Lorber film noir, The Dark Side of Cinema sets. They are on 20 and 21. They've done 21 of these sets. I mean, actually more. I think more have been announced. But boy, I hope they keep them coming because I really enjoy the mix that you get from these sets. And there's some fun stuff in these. Some I haven't seen, but we're going to go through it all. So here's Dark Side of Cinema 20, which includes Captain Carey USA, Appointment with Danger, Make Haste to Live. So we will go through these. So Captain Carey USA. So the through line for these is almost Alan Ladd, but I don't think he's in the third film. But he's in two of the three. So that's cool. I like that. There was one recently that had all Eddie Robinson movies, and it's really cool when they're able to do that. But anyway, this one's interesting. Captain Carey USA. So this is from 1949, directed by Mitchell Leisen. Now, Mitchell Leisen, when I hear his name, I don't immediately think noir, because I associate him most with comedies. In fact, a lot of them are written by, well, the ones that I remember are written by Preston Sturges, or they're written by the big one that I love the most, probably, although it's a toss-up, Midnight, which is written and co-written by Charles Brackett and Billy Wilder, and that's with Claude Colbert and Don Amici. Really great. And that doesn't have a Blu-ray yet, I don't think. But Remember the Night with Barbara Stanwyck and Fred McMurray, and Easy Living with Jean Arthur and Edward Arnold and Ray Milland. Especially Easy Living and Midnight, I think two of the great screwball comedies of the 30s. He also did Hold Back the Dawn, Death Takes a Holiday, a ton of other, like The Mating Season and No Time for Love. He did Fred McMurray comedies. So this is a little different. There are definitely some war pictures in there, and this is kind of a war noir, it sounds like. Near the end of World War II, a secret American raid on an enemy transportation hub goes very wrong when a turncoat warns the enemy. Led by Captain Webster Carey, that's got to be, yes, it is Alan Ladd. The mission causes the deaths of many bystanders. Among them, Carey believes his Italian girlfriend, Giulia De Graffi. Back home, Carey stumbles across evidence that might uncover the identity of the informant, but when he returns to Italy to get even, Carey is stunned by what he finds. So obviously there's a little twisteroo there we don't want to talk about. But I've definitely heard this title. It's from 1949, I think I mentioned, but it's one that has eluded me thus far. And this has an audio commentary by film historian screenwriter Gary Girani. It is a 2022 HD master from Paramount Pictures from a 4K scan. Enhanced by the musical number Mona Lisa, which won an Academy Award. Best Original Song 1950. So it's got a little musical moment in there too. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a little spoilers on the back here that I don't want to go into. Like, I wouldn't recommend reading that if you haven't seen the movie. Kind of might be more fun to just watch it blind, which I'm going to do later on here. But I do like Alan Ladd in this kind of thing. He's, a unique and very memorable movie star of this period. And so this sounds like a neat role for him and an interesting change of pace for Mitchell Leisen. Okay, next up we have another Alan Ladd in Appointment with Danger. This is directed by Lewis Allen, who, and I think this one might have come out from Olive Films a while back. I have seen this, and it's about Al Goddard, who's a detective who works for the United States Postal Inspection Service, and he's assigned to arrest two criminals who have allegedly murdered a U.S. postal detective. 2020 HD Master from Paramount from a 4K scan. Ladd, as the U.S. Mail's ace agent, smashes the biggest mail robbery plan in history. Screen legend Ladd is Postal Inspector Al Goddard, assigned to investigate the murder of a fellow officer. The only witnesses to the crime is Sister Augustine, Phyllis Calvert, who identifies the photograph of one of the assailants. This leads Goddard to a seedy hotel where he learns that the assailant is a member of a gang headed by Earl Bodiger, Paul Stewart, and he soon discovers that the gang is planning $1 million mail robbery. This taut, thrilling film noir also features Jan Sterling and future Dragnet star Jack Webb, a very younger Jack Webb there, and Harry Morgan as Stewart's henchman, directed by noir master Lewis Allen. So yeah, that's a cool cast. Kathleen Freeman's in here too. I like Kathleen Freeman. Lewis Allen, I know from, he did a movie called Chicago Deadline, which is part of one of these sets earlier, I think, this year. And I really dug that. That's a really cool one with Alan Ladd as a detective trying to figure out, it's almost like a Citizen Kane type narrative where he's trying to figure out who this woman was that was killed. Anyway, he did The Unseen with Ray Milland, The Ghost Story, and The Uninvited, and The Unseen with Joel McCrea, and those came out from Imprint this year in a double set. And The Unseen I'd never checked out before, and I dug it. He also did Suddenly, the Frank Sinatra movie, Desert Fury, with is it Claude Rains? No, sorry. Elizabeth Scott, Burt Lancaster, Wendell Corey, Mary Astor. That one's interesting. I think that was part of one of these sets as well. So he's popular with these sets. He did At Sword's Point, which is one that I don't think has a Blu-ray yet, but has a DVD. It's a swashbuckler with Cornel Wilde, Maureen O'Hara, Alan Hale Jr. And I remember Tarantino being a fan of this. I feel like he bought the Laserdisc at my video store way back in the early 2000s. Anyway, Lewis Allen, solid workman director, and I remember enjoying this. Audio commentary by Heath Holland, host of Serial at Midnight podcast, and Max Allen Collins, author of Road to Perdition. So that's cool. Heath doing a decent amount of commentary work. Haven't seen him a ton on Kino disc, so this is an early, I'm sure there's more of these in the works, but really neat to see Heath getting involved in the commentary game. It's hard work, and I don't know that I could do it. It's just too much, and so I salute anybody that gets involved. Okay, so lastly in this set, we have Make Haste to Live, which is a cool title. And this one is I'm unfamiliar with. It apparently the basic plot is a single mother in New Mexico senses her own death in the hands of a mysterious stalker. And it stars Dorothy McGuire, Steve McNally, Mary Murphy, Edgar Buchanan. In terms of the summary, 2019 HD Master from Paramount, from a 4K scan. Only a gangster killer knew the secret of her past. In this taut noir melodrama, Dorothy McGuire, Crystal, has unknowingly married a murderer. She knew Steve, that's Steve McNally, was handsome and charming, but by the time she discovered he was a cold-blooded killer, it was too late. He had already become her husband. So she ran like never before and built herself a new life with her daughter, and years later, when she learns that Steve had been jailed for murder, Crystal thought she was safe. But Steve is released from prison and has a deadly reunion in mind. I've seen this kind of plot before, the sort of running from someone and building a new life kind of thing, and then having it all come crumbling down. So I like that as a plot. William A. Saiter directed, and I don't know that well, except he did, like, another guy who did some comedies, like Laurel and Hardy's Sons of the Desert, one of their best movies, Room Service with the Marx Brothers, which is just okay. If I Had a Million, which is a cool anthology comedy that has W.C. Fields and some other folks in it. I like that. But he's done some other noirs like Borderline, and he did Diplomaniacs. So that's Wheeler and Woolsey comedy. You know, it's interesting, these guys that would do noirs and comedies. But he's got quite a resume. It goes way back. Caught Plastered, Girl Crazy. He actually worked with Wheeler and Woolsey quite a bit. But also did a movie called Hot Saturday, which came out from Kino a while back with Cary Grant and Randolph Scott, and pre-code drama, if I recall, and I enjoyed that one too. But not a director that immediately comes to mind when I say his name, so good to look back at his stuff. So this has a audio commentary by Sam Deegan, which is always welcome and always enjoyed. Very cool stuff. This overall makes for a nice set of films, and this is the box set number 20. Moving on to 21, we have 3 more films. One is actually kind of a favorite of mine that has gotten a Blu-ray release, but this looks to be an even better release. I'll get to that one in a second. It includes Cloak and Dagger, Shortcut to Hell, and Shack Out on 101. So starting with Cloak and Dagger, which is a big one because it's Fritz Lang. So Fritz Lang directs Gary Cooper in this one. Italian partisans help a professor sent by the OSS to find an atomic scientist held by Nazis. Now, this film is probably most notorious to me because it's the one that comes up every time I'm looking for the 1984 version of Cloak and Dagger, the Richard Franklin film. And I was always kind of like, what is this Fritz Lang one? And it's from 1946. And it's just something I've always meant to see. It still seems a little underappreciated. 2020 HD master by Paramount from a 4K scan. The moment he fell in love was his moment of greatest danger. From legendary director Fritz Lang, Scarlet Street in The Big Heat, one of the grand architects of film noir, comes an engrossing World War II spy thriller years ahead of its time. The great Gary Cooper is an American nuclear physicist recruited by the Office of Strategic Services and parachuted into war-torn Europe to obtain military secrets. But the deeper he probes, the deadlier his mission becomes, especially when his involvement with a mysterious resistance fighter, Lily Palmer, catapults him into an intense maelstrom of danger, betrayal, romance, and murder. The fourth and final of Lang's classic anti-Nazi films following Manhunt, which is a really good one, by the way. I remember that came out on Blu-ray from Twilight Time. I can't remember if it's come out again. I enjoy that one. That's pretty solid. Hangmen Also Die and Ministry of Fear. I think Ministry of Fear came out from Criterion. Cloak and Dagger is the quintessential wartime suspense picture elevated by Sal Polito's terrific black and white cinematography and Max Steiner's rousing score. Max Steiner, one of the great composers of this period. Rousing is a good way to describe his music. Audio commentary by Heath Holland, host of Serial at Midnight podcast, and Max Allen Collins, author of Road to Perdition. So again, Heath jumping in with another commentary. Very cool stuff. I look forward to checking that out. And I look forward to checking this movie out. It's a Gary Cooper that I haven't seen. It's a Fritz Lang I haven't seen. It's one of those movies that I've been aware of for a long time just because of the title, but I've never had the chance. So definitely looking forward to 1946's Cloak and Dagger. Now, my favorite in this whole group, Shack Out on 101. Now, this one is from 1955, and I love the summary on Letterboxd. It's just, a greasy spoon diner provides a base for a spy smuggling nuclear secrets. And I love this one. It's a cult movie through and through. It's one I discovered either through the Danny Perry Cult Movies books or maybe the Guide for the Film Fanatic. I feel like it's in one of those, but it's a cult movie. And the cast is great. It's Terry Moore, Frank Lovejoy, Keenan Wynn, Lee Marvin, Whit Bissell. It's really solid. And Lee Marvin is pretty scummy. He plays a character called Slob. And Keenan Wynn, I think Keenan Wynn runs the diner. Frank Lovejoy is a professor that comes in, and Terry Moore is the waitress there, constantly being harassed by everybody, but really Lee Marvin a lot, as you can see on the cover here. This is one I picked for our 1950s cult pure cinema episode because I really do feel like the cast and the story, sensational as it is, make it a great cult film. This is a new 2021 HD master by Paramount from a 4K scan. So the Olive Films release I know came out prior to 2021. This will look better than that. On the shady side of the highway, check into a hotbed of lethal cloak and dagger with the great Lee Marvin, Terry Moore, and Frank Lovejoy, and shack out on 101. An attractive waitress Moore at a seaside cafe gets caught in a web of treacherous intrigue when she discovers that her workplace is a secret station for spies. It seems that the cafe is close to an experimental lab that harbors national defense secrets, and a ring of sinister spies has come to steal them. Now it's up to the desperate waitress and a network of undercover FBI men to stop the diabolical scheme, but not before they all stop along the way for a sizzling round of passion and romance. Featuring Keenan Wynn, Whit Bissell, this one-of-a-kind potboiler comes stylishly directed by cult filmmaker Edward Dean, who also did Curse of the Undead, and beautifully shot in black and white by Floyd Crosby, who also shot High Noon. And so those are two things you don't expect from this kind of a movie, is a beautifully shot... so Curse of the Undead from 1959. He also did Leech Woman. This is Edward Dean. Those are like the big ones. The rest are looking like, Calypso Joe, and then some Spanish films, I guess. So he didn't do a ton of stuff. But between Shack Out on 101, Leech Woman, and Curse of the Undead, with a bunch of actors I don't remember, but I have seen that. An interesting cult cachet of a career for Edward Dean. But this one is just a lot of fun. It's just, sweaty and uncomfortable and very enjoyable stuff. I really enjoy Lee Marvin as Slob in this movie. And Terry Moore is great. This is my introduction to Terry Moore. I'd never seen her before in anything, and she's stunning, and she's really handles herself well in this movie. Very excited about this new scan. And it's got a commentary by professor and film scholar Jason A. Nye, who's always wonderful. So looking forward to checking that out as well. Lastly, we have Shortcut to Hell. Now, this one's really interesting because, and I'm sure, I'll read the back because I'm sure it indicates what I'm talking about. 2023 HD master by Paramount Pictures from a 4K scan. Professional killer with a gun for hire. The first and only directorial effort by legendary actor James Cagney. Shortcut to Hell is a steamy, gritty remake of the Alan Ladd star This Gun for Hire. So this is retreading that territory, directed by James Cagney. Based on a novel by the great Graham Greene, who wrote The Third Man, of course. Hard-boiled hitman Kyle Niles, that's Robert Ivers, is hired to commit 2 murders only to be double-crossed by his employer, Barwell, Jacques Obakan. On the lam and seeking revenge, Kyle kidnaps singer Glory Hamilton, Georgianne Johnson, from, I guess she was in Midnight Cowboy, the girlfriend of the police detective in charge of his pursuit, William Bishop. Glory tries to convince him to surrender here, but it's too late. But Kyle's humanity is buried deep, and his thirst for vengeance is unquenchable, destined to join them. The devil took over from there. As Cagney himself states in the film's opening, Ives and Johnson are 2, quote, fresh and exciting young talents who anchor this fiery film noir. And the theatrical trailer is included here, and it includes Cagney, I assume, addressing camera, and also has a commentary from film historian, screenwriter Gary Girani. But yeah, 1957, and Shortcut to Hell is 55, if I didn't say that. But fascinating. I've heard the title before. Actually, there's some titles that are along the lines of this, 10 Seconds to Hell, and some others that I'm crossing with it. But I did not realize it was the directorial debut and only directing effort of James Cagney, and that it was a sort of a remake of This Gun for Hire. I did not know that. So very curious to check this one out and see how Cagney handles himself as a director. And very interesting stuff. Based on a screenplay by W.R. Burnett. Yeah, cool. So that's a nice set, a nice couple sets of film noirs from Kino. They are always working. I assume y'all are buying these because they just keep coming out, and I hope that you continue to do so because I really love these sets, and there's always a couple gems in each one, and there's always something I don't know usually in each of these sets. So please keep buying these, please keep checking them out, and thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you very soon. Bye bye.